It's a beautiful morning here in Nigeria. I'm sure you're wondering what we're doing at this time. Of course, we already sent reports that newspaper review will be airing 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. moving forward every weekday. My name is God's Time David, and I'll take you through stories making rounds on front pages of newspapers this morning. Before we take a look at COVID-19 updates, some stories made rounds over the weekend. On Saturday, there was a Yoruba Nation rally turned protest on Saturday. That's the agitation for the creation of the Yoruba Nation that has been on for a very long time. The rally became protest yesterday. There are allegations that one or two persons were killed. However, the Lagos State Police Commissioner of Police has come out to refute the claim that anybody was killed. And I also saw a report how 7.5 million naira was supposed to be paid to someone whose leg was fractured, and he came out to say that 7.5 million naira is not enough. That story. And also I also saw a story yesterday how Governor El-Rufai came out to say that he is going to withdraw his son. He actually withdrew his son from the school as a result of planned kidnapping. Now the question is, if Governor El-Rufai is withdrawing his son from a school as a result of planned protest, what is the fate of other students? What is the fate of other parents? What is the fate of teachers who are teaching in that school? That leads us or takes us back to the story of kidnapping and insecurity in the country. But we are really hoping that something, a better news or a good news when it comes to that would surface very soon. Right about now, we have our guest joining us from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Awo Ogime, legal practitioner. Good morning, Awo. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, let's begin this morning with the story of the 17 southern governors who are to meet with Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to re-access or access their ban on the open grazing. Now, you recall that they had a meeting 8 weeks ago banning open grazing as a result of President Muhammadu Buhari's order. How would you react to that story, and what do you foresee talking about the meeting that they are to have this morning?
Well, first of all, it's on this show that this is the first time the South governors have come together to take a stand and take a position on the open grazing. And I don't think that the outcome of this meeting will be in the affirmative. What I mean is it will favor the federal government, because the South governors are firm and they want to take the open grazing fight even to the presidency. I'm saying this to say that, our laws, our extant laws, and the laws that are provided, for ownership of goods and chattel does not permit this nuisance, so to speak. So I don't think that the meeting is going to work in favor of the federal government, because they're not going to, back down on their plans.
So if this is not going to work in favor of the federal government, and say the federal government is also refusing to back down on their stance regards this, don't you think, or do you think that would cause some form of rancor, because we already have other challenges we're trying to sort in the country as it is?
If you listen to the special advisor to the president on media, you'll see that his speech and even his body language doesn't support the fact that open grazing should be banned. But what we are saying, we're looking for how to move the country forward. And the best practice anywhere in the world is not to allow, cattle to be moving from one place to the other. The acceptable practice is to have ranches, for you to keep your cattle. And again, we have emphasized and reiterated that cattle rearing is a private business. So if you're running a private business, you should be able to manage your logistics without inconveniencing the other people or other person. So if people who are engaged in private businesses are now inconveniencing the people, then people will need to speak. So I still think that those who own these businesses should resort to the right thing to do, which is to buy land if you want to open a ranch, and just do away with this nomadic way of cattle rearing. It's a cake, it's out of place, it's no longer conventional.
Well, we'll look forward to the updates after the meeting this morning with Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. But let's take a look away from that story very quickly to this one. The story actually caught my attention. It says that Serap sues President Buhari over $25 billion overdraft taken from CBN. Now, Serap is coming out to sue President Buhari. You saw the story this morning. When you saw it, what was your reaction? Are you there, Awo?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I did. I did hear you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying that action is pursuant to the information bill, which means that individuals, have access to public information. What I would say is that the setup is trying to, sue for accountability in government. You will agree with me that there's a lot of public officers are really not accountable to the people that voted them enough. And the country is already screaming about, the loan portfolio in the country. So I think it's a call in the right direction. The only thing I might fear is that what will be the outcome of this action? Because mere having access to the information, mere having to sue the government, for instance, the government will have a genuine reason for borrowing. And if the reasons are genuine, there's nothing the court is going to say. The only thing is that we want the government to be accountable, to be able to tell the citizens this is how the money that were borrowed have been spent. So I think it's a call in right worried about. Because yes, go ahead.
So we are still talking about the Sarah Buhari, right? And you're talking about how that it's a call to the right direction and it has to do with accountability and the rest of it. Now, we all know that no one is above the law, and you've also talked about the fact that since this is against the government, now, do you think this is going to have an effect? Do you think they would actually pull through with this?
Well, when and then the court is there to interpret a lot of actions that are brought before it. So my position will be that the matter will go to court. It will be heard on the merits. Like I already said, my only challenge is whether this action will heal the reason for which the parties went to court. Because what Sarah is asking for is that be transparent. Tell us how far the money you borrowed and how you've been able to utilize the money. As a matter of fact, tell us pinpoint projects for which these monies borrowed have been used. So if there are genuine reasons, the court will declare even in the favor of the federal government. The only thing that Sarah is asking for is just accountability for the monies borrowed and nothing more.
Through. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the story. It's one of the stories that made rounds last weekend. This morning, the Niger Delta Group is coming to say that the PIB is scandalous. You've seen the story, you followed the story last week, how that 3% was allocated to host communities in the South. Now, this morning, Niger Delta Group is coming to say that it is scandalous. Do you agree with them?
Well, I totally agree with them. Like I've said on this show, when it has to do with issues of the South, apart from the fact that I'm from the South part of the country, and that part has been marginalized where the principal revenue of this country is generated. The region, for me, what is accrued to this region vis-a-vis the revenue generated from that region is really not at par with what is on ground. I even think that that percent is a bit ridiculous. If you ask me. So, but the bill has been passed. However, in subsequent proceedings, I'm thinking that that money should be reviewed, or the percentage should be reviewed upwards to be able to accommodate properly, what people should have in the South.
Now that you've mentioned the review of the 3%, we had this conversation last week, and I was wondering if this 3% is it going to be sustainable? When the conversation of reviewing this 3% comes up, is it not going to cause any form of rancor in the South or the Niger Delta?
Well, the fact is, the principal revenue of this country comes from the South. And then it's just natural. That's why there's a clamor for restructuring, that states should be in control of the resources generated. Because if the state had that autonomy and then they were to control their resources, you know that South region, as it were, will even be like one of the regional countries that we have in West Africa. So because the revenue they generated will be able to manage. So I just think that if the right thing is done within Nigeria, the South region even deserves more, and it's just a natural thing.
Okay, still talking about PIB, this is coming back to the Southwest. Now it says PIB, the North Ogun's quest for oil gets boost and exploration receives 30%. Now let's link this together. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Let's link Ogun quest for oil gets boost and the exploration receives 30%. Now let's bring this together with the South 3% of this PIB. It's looking more like Ogun is beginning to get interested, not just Ogun as excuse me, Ogun and the North are interested in this bill.
Well, if it's about where the resources are found, and where they are generated. If for instance, the Southwest or even the North, have, let me even put it this way. The only reason why there's a lot of this clamor and agitation and interest is because, it has to do with oil, which is Nigeria's principal way of generating income. Now, there are other natural resources in other parts of the country that, if properly exploited, it also have export value and can also generate income for the government. So I think that this region should also look for a way to generate their income, because whether we like it or not, you see this issue of restructuring, one of these days is going to come to fore and people will come to terms with it. And when that happens, people need to fall back to whatever resource they have in their region. So it's not just, stretching. We should also think in the future that there will be a time where the restructuring will come to be. So people should be able to come to terms and look within their state to see how they can develop instead of stretching. That is why Nigeria had depended on oil for this long. If we diversify to other things, the interest in oil vis-a-vis the Niger Delta will not even come to be. So that's my position. The other states should also look inward and see how they can generate income from their states and to the federal government by extension.
All right, let's move away from that story very quickly and talk about what happened on Saturday in Lagos State. There was a rally-ton protest, that's the agitation for the Yoruba nation. Two persons were allegedly killed as at the time I got the report. However, the Lagos State Police Commissioner came out to say that nobody was killed by the police. Now, let's quickly talk about what this protest, the effect this protest has on Lagosians and how the image it has on Nigeria generally, considering the state that we are in currently. We're all actually battling with insecurity and we have agitation for the Yoruba nation. Would you describe that as misplaced priority for the agitators?
Yeah. Let me start from my last comments. Like I said, you see, the issue of Nigeria should secede. There should be secession. There should be, regional powers within the country. These agitations will come to bear one of these days. You will recall that it took a lot of consultation even before independence is granted. So we shouldn't jettison some of these issues that are coming up within our countries. We should begin to have critical thinking, on how to restructure this country. Whether we like it or not, a time will come where it will be. Now, back to your question. It's not a misplaced priority. There are a lot of things in this country that even require agitation. Nigeria, for me, is not really that strong when it comes to agitation. We have some African countries who are very strong in agitation and very resilient in pressing their demands to the center. So my only worry is that human lives should not be involved in trying to get what we want. I know that you cannot talk about lives, in agitation. You cannot take up loss of life in any agitation, especially the one that is not legal or not a roundtable discussion. So everybody that is uncomfortable with what is happening at the center will clamor for, their rights. And again, we're in a democratic system, so we expect some of these agitations to come. But talking about image, it may not put us in the right image in the international community because investors are weary to come into a country that is unstable. So that's just a challenge. But to say that we will not agitate, agitation will come. Before you know, another group will also rise up and ask for an independent nation. We should rise as a people and decide whether we want to stay as one or to allow these people have their time.
We'll get updates as soon as we get reports on that story. But before I let you off the hook this morning, this one is on Nnamdi Kanu. Now, you recall that Nnamdi Kanu was arrested and detained last week. The update on the story this morning is saying that Kanu did not authorize ritual killings, says IPOB. There are allegations that Nnamdi Kanu ordered killings for charms. But this morning, IPOB is coming to refute those claims. I had a conversation briefly with you on this, but I'd like you to shed more light on what you think about this.
First of all, on a lighter note, I wonder where he got the interview from, with him. But number two is that we've seen some of, when the president's tweet was deleted, and then there was people who tried to bring out tweets that were tweeted directly from Nnamdi Kanu's verified handle. So coming around to deny these things, it's a bit ridiculous, if you may ask me, because I wonder even when, some of the tweets and another things you're supposed to read on air, because they are very insightful, but you stay wherever you stay and then order people to stay at home. That's an insurrection to any country. So I don't think that denying it now is going to help the matter. What I were only asking for, is that a fair trial should happen, in the course of his trial, with the federal government.
Amos, thank you for joining us this morning. Awo Ogim, thank you for your thoughts and have a great week ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. That was Awo Ogim, legal practitioner from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. The Assembly's Yoruba lawyers for Igboho's aides and Lagos protesters, we've already taken that. That's all we can take this morning on Newspaper Review. Remember to join us tomorrow for another edition of Newspaper Review. Also, remember to get details of this headlines and other stories by joining us at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. on News Around the Globe. My name is God's Time David. Have a great day. Also, do not forget that Newspaper Review continues to air from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every weekday. My name is God's Time David. We'll patch you back to tea or coffee. Have a great day. Bye-bye.